My name is Joe Young. I escaped from North Korea. Ask questions. Evidence. My parents were the first ones to flee to South Korea, but I always stayed in touch with them. They sent me money and other necessities. I had a small business in North Korea selling cigarettes, gloves, and socks mostly to the construction workers. In 2010, I finally escaped, and in 2011, I reunited with my family in South Korea. I also participated in a famous South Korean show, Now on My Way to Meet You, where they invite girls who escaped from North Korea. I will answer any questions. Is it true that the people of North Korea believe that Kim Jong-il and his father and grandfather had superpowers? Or do people have to say this out of fear? As children, they do. It's about the same story as the Bible, but then everybody grows up and realizes there's no point in stories like that. But you have to know all these stories anyway, or you won't get good grades in tests or graduate from high school. People have only recently begun to be frank with their closest friends about how this kind of ideological education is absolutely useless. I've always felt that way too. You say your parents fled first. Did the North Korean government know about this? Did you have any problems because of that? Due to constant power outages, people in the DPRK often don't have information about the weather. We took advantage of this and made up a story that my father died at sea and my mother and the rest of the family went to look for his remains. When I was left alone, I began to be courted by the secret police. I stuck to our story, confidently answered their questions, and clearly explained why our family had to be separated. Besides that, I know that they asked my neighbors to watch me, but I didn't really care. I pretended not to notice anything. Hi, we know a lot about the DPRK's military capabilities, about foreign policy, about loud statements, but I want to ask something about North Korean culture. How North Koreans celebrate weddings. North Korean women like everything to be very romantic. In North Korea, all girls wear traditional Korean dresses, kyosunot or hanbok in South Korea, for their wedding. But because of the growing popularity of foreign films, Korean women increasingly want to wear white wedding dresses. True, it's still forbidden. So for now, they have to go around in traditional wedding dresses and decorate, adapting them as much as possible. The ceremony itself takes place first at the groom's house, then at the bride's house. But if the family doesn't have that much money for food, then everyone is gathered together, making one feast together. What it's like to move from a country with no modern technology at all to a country with the internet and the ability to get unlimited information from all over the world? It was like getting into a time machine and moving into the modern world. At first, I did not understand a lot of things, but slowly I learned everything. It was fun. Even basic typing on the computer was something completely new and interesting to me. It's been 3 years now, but I still find new things from time to time. Do you feel that South Koreans treat you as a North Korean with negativity and prejudice? Discrimination among South Koreans does occur. This is especially true of Chinese Koreans. Because I speak a certain dialect that sounds very similar to the way Chinese Koreans from Northeast China speak. People sometimes ask where I'm from and their tone is obviously negative. Once a cab driver asked my aunt where she was from, and when she said she was from North Korea, the cab driver abruptly stopped the car and told her to get out. Regardless of that, I don't hide where I'm from because at a distance it helps me more to adjust to my new life. I volunteered at the London 2012 Olympics. It was very interesting to see so many different peoples and cultures from all over the world. One time I saw North Koreans walking through our Olympic village. Those dudes looked like zombies. There is no other way to describe it. There was not a drop of life in their eyes, as if they had sucked all the personality out of them. My question is, when you lived in North Korea, how did you perceive people living in other parts of the world? It's very understandable to me why they showed themselves to be like zombies. It was extremely risky for them to take an interest in their surroundings, and when a person is afraid, he becomes uptight. When I lived in the DPRK, I didn't see foreigners as something horrible. I believed they were good. I always wanted to meet foreigners, but it was better to keep such thoughts to myself there. Once, when I was in Gijón, which is a city in the northeast, I saw a Russian guy and was so fascinated by him that I stared at him until he turned into a small dot that soon merged with the horizon. Can you share any past experiences that inspired you and your parents to defect? I always imagined that people would run away when they were in danger of something very scary, especially considering how dangerous fleeing the DPRK can be. Thank you for telling your story. My grandfather always told us that our generation had to have freedom. He told us a lot about developed countries and modern technology, and my father listened to foreign radio for 9 years illegally. and it affected us all a lot. We listened to South Korean radio, Radio Free Asia, Voice of America, and so on. From there, we also learned about the first escapees from the country. Foreign news gave us confidence, and not without their help, we were able to develop our escape plan. Hello, Miss Yang. First of all, thank you for answering questions. You give people a rare opportunity to look at real life in the DPRK without all the distortions of the media. The question is, what took you the longest to get used to? Hello, thank you for the question. Culture shock was waiting for me at every step. I had to get used to all the toilets, ATMs, electronic subway cards, literally for everything. Haha, to elevators, escalators. And it took me a long time to get used to borrowed words that are used a lot in South Korea. Wow, and the toilets took a long time to get used to? That's new. I thought most North Koreans had running water. Or is that only in Pyongyang? I mean, here are the toilets you have to sit on. In North Korea, everyone does their business on a squat. I saw the first toilet to sit on when I arrived in China. It was so incomprehensible to me that at first I climbed on it with my feet out of habit. By the way, when we were received by South Korean intelligence, through which all refugees from North Korea pass, the authorities begged us not to climb on toilets, but many refugees continued to do so as they could not go to the toilet any other way. LOL. There's also such a gimmick among refugees as bidet showers. Every North Korean, when they first see a bidet, makes the same mistake. They think it's a shower and completely douse themselves with water. That's what I did too. But now I have my own bidet at home. Many tourists who go to North Korea believe that their interactions with the locals have a positive effect on their opinion of foreigners. But there are people who say that tourism is bad because most of the money from tourism goes to support an oppressive government. Do you think tourism in the DPRK is good or bad? Thank you for the question. If tourists do get to interact with the local people, it's a good thing because North Koreans are very interested in understanding foreigners. This kind of communication makes them more friendly to foreigners, and they begin to understand that they are regular people. However, I also feel bad that the government gets foreign currency from this, so it's both good and bad. I'm sure you have 1,000 reasons why you decided to run away. But is there something what you miss? First, my friends and my neighbors who were like family to me, I miss them a lot. Second, my hometown, the air, the water, even the smell of the earth. I miss it all. What were your feelings when you found yourself in South Korea and saw the quality of life that is available to its residents? How did you adapt? I'm very interested in the psychological turmoil of being in a completely different environment. I was shocked by the fact that South Koreans eat every day what North Koreans get only on holidays. We had white rice only on special occasions. For example, on Kim Il-sung's birthday. And not everyone could afford it. In South Korea, even homeless people eat white rice. How did I adapt? Well, white rice is very delicious. So, the adaptation went well. Although sometimes I still miss North Korean food. Did you watch Western movies, shows, and TV series while you lived in North Korea? If so, which ones? Yes, all the time. I can't remember all the titles, but I definitely watched James Bond's 007, Landing Zone, Charlie's Angels, Count of Monte Cristo. In general, a lot of things watched, haha. We always thought that Western cinema was much more progressive than South Korean cinema. We're often told that Pyongyang is so-and-so. What do North Koreans who live somewhere in the countryside think of Pyongyang? Thank you for answering our questions. People from the countryside perceive people from Pyongyang as people from a completely different country. I think it's no secret that in Pyongyang, only those whom the party has marked as the most loyal are allowed to live. And for example, if you want to go to Pyongyang as a tourist, you need a special travel permit. If I'm not mistaken, the regular permits have one red stripe on them, and the ones that allow you to go to Pyongyang have 2 red strips on them. Today, June 4, is the 25th anniversary of the Tiananmen Square protest. On that day, hundreds of students were killed for speaking out in support of democracy. Do you think anything has changed since then in terms of protests? Or is speaking out against the North Korean authorities still a taboo subject? I wasn't even born at the time, but I'm aware of those events. In the 2000s, there was a very famous film about it. Everyone was just talking about it. When I was very young, the adults told me about all kinds of coup attempts, but Kim Jong-il stopped them all successfully. The leaders of the movements were either executed or sent to labor camps, so there's not much of a rush to do that kind of thing there. Wow, it's so good to see you on the Reddit. You say you were in the business? Can you tell me more about markets and private enterprise in North Korea? I read somewhere that most of the business there is done by women. How true is that? What role do you think women will play in the North Korea of the future when it needs to be raised from the bottom? North Koreans have an expression. In the North Korean market, you can find everything but a cat's horn. That is, anything at all. After all, cats have no horns, right? Yes, when it comes to trade, it's mostly women who work in this business. Some men also trade sometimes, but as a rule, they do it on a much larger scale. And it's always something to do with smuggling goods across the border. I think that women who are in private business will play a huge role in the future. They have access to information that most people don't have. In North Korea, such women in general are considered much more adapted than the average resident. So yes, I think they will play a very big role. I have friends from North Korea who have had to change their names many times because they have lived in North Korea, then China, then South Korea, then somewhere else. Do you manage to keep track of your names at all? How do you lose your name and not lose your positive attitude? Yes, there are funny cases where refugees are confused themselves what their name is. It's the same with me. I still have my native name, but I use another one in public. And I use my name so rarely that I can hardly go back to it, even if I wanted to. I started thinking more positively when I was in South Korea. Even though I had a lot of difficulties with the move, it's nothing compared to the dangerous life in North Korea. So I just live and enjoy everything that's going on. Thank you very much for watching. In the comments below the video, can you write what you think about this topic? Plus, watch the other episodes from our channel. Bye!